Welcome to the Nonprofits, the thrice weekly show where we look at news and current events through the lens of atheism and secular humanism. For our first segment this week, we step into the good old American tradition of college football. Utah kicker Dillon faced backlash after continuing his warm-up during BYU's pregame Mormon prayer in the Holy War rival game. BYU fans viewed it as disrespectful, prompting Curtis to issue an apology days later, saying he meant no offense and was just following the coach's instructions. The controversy highlights the deep religious ties between the schools, BYU being predominantly Mormon and Utah being a little bit more secular. In the end, Utah lost by 3 points, and Curtis's onside kick mishap added irony to the drama. This story is from thebrobible.com by Grayson Weir on October 23rd, 2025. All right, folks, I want to go to Jonathan first, I think. Jonathan, the riverboat gambler, or what Jonathan, refresh us, or what you're, or you're just a cool ass motherfucker, right? That's what you are.
That's it. I'm just a 1800s person. That's
all
it.
Right. There we go.
I've been accused
We'll
of
go with
living
that.
in the 1800s. So
Jonathan, I want to. So this pregame prayer really is just it's a long-standing tradition by BYU, and considering that it's a private college, do you think that it's reasonable to ask attendees and the players of both teams at the game to observe this religious tradition?
No. It's absolutely not. Utah, though both of these universities were founded by Brigham Young, the second head of the Mormon Church, he founded Utah to be more of a secular place, and it is. There are various religions there, but everybody was supposed to be welcome there. Also, they do have Mormons. It's only about, I think, 25 or 30% of their population in Utah, but BYU, of course, is 98% Mormon. But I don't think that when you're playing another team who isn't Mormon, that you can expect to have a Mormon prayer to open or close your game. If you want to pray. Do it quietly in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the same thing I saw when that coach was, causing a prayer in the middle of the field after a game or before a game, and that was definitely against church and state. Since this Utah University is a private school, it's not a public school. Well, I guess it is now. I guess it is now a public school, which means that the separation of church and state should apply. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I feel that that it was inappropriate for them to first have a prayer, mm-hmm. and secondly, to call anybody out for doing what they want, before the game. So
you think this is just flat out violation of church-state separation?
Yes. In this case, yes. Now, if it was BYU playing another complete Catholic school and they both did different prayers and shared the religious nonsense, then that would be okay. But, or if, Utah could put up whatever prayer they wanted as well, then it'd probably be okay. Because, there are very few, if any, atheists involved in this. So, but if there's one atheist involved in this, then they should just can it. Stop with the proselytization. Stop with the prayer stuff. So,
All right. Well, thanks, Jonathan. I want to jump over to our spooky, ghosty. What is that? I have a feeling that that's some kind of character that I should be aware of that I don't know.
No, I'm just an adorable bunny.
Just an adorable little bunny. Okay,
just being super adorable as a bunny with my little bunny ears.
You are damn adorable. I do have to give you that much. I'll hand you that. Okay, Flabbergasted.
Where's my holy hand grenade?
Right. Yes, that's right. Maybe I've been messing with that bunny,
weakness.
Right?
That's my only weakness, and I actually, oh my goodness, I actually have that bunny somewhere. Uh-oh. And I'll pull him out for another segment now.
All right. So tune into the next segment too, and get to see Flabbergasted's bunny. All right. So I have a question for you though. We actually have to talk about some stuff here. So what was the reaction to this quote unquote incident, and do you think it was an appropriate reaction?
I mean, the reaction was outrage, right? Outrage at the fact that someone dare do something other than capitulate to
Right.
their religion and their God. And that's my problem. Like I actually don't have a problem. This was done at BYU's stadium. And even though there was a state school there, this is being done on the grounds of a private university. I don't mind if they're doing a prayer. I don't mind if they have a moment of silence for people to do prayer. It's not, I actually don't think it's a violation of church and state that they did the prayer in this particular case. Because again, it's being done in a private environment and not in a publicly funded area. But the fact that there's outrage for the fact that someone just dare just not participate and just live their life and keep doing their thing. Especially a kid. He's 18 years old.
Right.
Yes, an adult kid. And he's both. Sorry, but not trying to talk down to you here, but he's a young guy who's just there to play football, and he's a kicker and he's warming up, he's practicing. The story goes that he was told to practice, and so he was just practicing. He may not have even been aware, because that's not his thing. And the fact that there's people upset about it, the fact there was a state senator that came out and was complaining and criticizing this guy publicly. Come on. Seriously?
Well, you bring up a good point about, it was, so Jonathan was saying that it's, there's public schools involved. And so that makes it a violation. Flabbergasted, you actually said that, it's taking place on the property and at the house of the private school. But we could also say that this private school is participating in a league where there's not many, there's not all that many. So, I think there's different, I actually agree with both of you. I think it's, in principle, at least to me, it seems like it's disregarding. I wouldn't say it necessarily a violation of church and state separation, but at least it's to me, and this is just my opinion, it's going against the spirit of that intention. Even though technically it's taking place at a private school. I don't think I would be surprised if BYU would demand that other schools do a prayer when they're at other colleges. I don't know if they do or not, but I would be surprised if that were the case. But interesting. So we got a couple different takes on this. I want to throw some Bible at you, if you don't mind. I want to read with me in your Bibles. I'm going to go into the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 1 and 5 through 6. Jesus spake thusly, be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. And when you do pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues or in the football arena and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So I think the word Jesus was looking for there is posers, basically, right? The implication here is that it's religious virtue signaling, and just like from the Pharisees and the scribes, of Jesus's story there, and they're just gaining the public approval rather than showing a genuine devotion to God. So let's go to Jonathan first here. Are BYU just a bunch of posers? Why don't they obey what Jesus commanded?
Well, I'm not so sure. I haven't read the Book of Mormon, so I don't know if that's in the Book of Mormon. And
good point.
So I know very little about Mormonism. And so I know the original story, the hat, the gold plates, blah, 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 all the ridiculous con job stuff to form the religion. But it's just one of those things, disrespecting one side is respecting another. So it's like, that's my problem with the whole thing we talked about just a minute ago, is that even if it's not church and state problem, if you are hosting a bunch of people that aren't part of your religion, you should be courteous enough and have enough hospitality to not force them to listen to your religion as part of the event. So,
or at least not get upset if they decide not to.
Yeah.
Right.
It's disrespecting your guests is what it's doing. And if you say the guest is disrespecting you, hey, turnabout's fair play. So
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Flabbergasted, I want to jump back to you. Sticking with my question here, though, from my understanding, the Mormon or the LDS religion is building on top of the Bible, right? So I think that they they consider themselves to be full bore Christians plus, right, with a little extra something on the top there. So do you think that this is posing? You think this is for the cameras, or do you think this outrage is manufactured, or or why are they not doing what Jesus told them to do?
I wouldn't call it posing or manufactured outrage. I'd call it ignorance of the scripture in which they propagate and claim to adhere to. Right. Mm-hmm. The average person in that stadium probably has never read Matthew meaningfully. Right. The only engagement most people have had with their scripture is what the pastor or their priest or their whatever the name of the holy person is in Mormonism. As you can tell, I'm a horrible Mormon since I never grew up as one.
Horman? Are you a Horman?
Well, that's a different story.
Well, okay.
Let's not get into that.
The night's just getting spicier and spicier. All right.
You haven't even seen my other bunny. But at the end of the day, like most people only engage with this stuff when they go to their church, when they go to their temple, and they go through what the pastor has curated for them to share with them and to give them a particular interpretation and version of that part of the Bible. And they're going to jump around, and most people aren't going to get through the whole thing. Most people that I know that are religious haven't read the whole Bible. No one in my family who is still religious has read the entire Bible, even though I've bought most of them, multiple of them, because that's what they said they wanted for Christmas. I said, hey, sure, as long as you promise you'll read it. And they don't. And
doesn't it say something in there about lying? You're not supposed to lie. They said they were going to read it and they didn't. I thought that was maybe that was the first thing. They should read that first. The part about lying. I should have highlighted that one in there. There you go. Yeah, put some bookmarks in or something.
Right. I swear I wanted to get an annotated one, but I figured that was just pushing it a little bit too far. But no, at the end of the day, like they don't engage with it. It's not hypocrisy if you're not aware of it, right? It's just ignorance, and they're going to go out and they're going to preach and they're going to criticize people for not doing the thing that they're doing, even though it's in contradiction with their scripture.
You just said something really fascinating right now. You said you didn't buy you wanted to get your family an annotated Bible because that's what you wanted to give them, right? But you respected their position and just got them a regular Bible. That's not what's happening here, right? BYU is not respecting their visitors, the people, the teams that they invited into their home, their quote unquote home, their stadium, and they're putting these extra expectations on them beyond the beliefs of the other team. Whereas you, on the other hand, a dirty, nasty, heathen atheist, are respecting
such nice things.
I'm welcoming you under our tent. It's an our thing, but you're respecting their beliefs, and you're not pushing it. You're not rubbing it in their faces, and you're certainly not getting all pissed off when they don't follow along with what you're doing.
At the very least, not when I'm buying them the Bible.
Yes. I suppose there's a time and place for that, right? Right.
But I think the thing I'd add to it as well here, right, is like, just to be a little bit of devil's advocate, ironically enough, if someone was to have a moment of silence and someone was just to walk in that moment of silence with a bag of chips and just munch down while everybody's having a moment of silence, a non-religious, just a general moment of silence.
Right.
Would we be upset with that person for being disruptive? And I think the answer is generally yes. And in this situation, they have a pause for prayer or pause for moment of silence, right? I don't think they actually led a prayer. If they did, that's a separate issue. But if we're just going to grant the most generous interpretation, that they just had a moment of silence, and if someone was to genuinely be disruptive, right? If someone decided to come out and pull out their tuba right in the middle of that, that's a little disrespectful. I do believe that.
Right.
But a guy sitting there kicking a football as a warm up into a net that most people in the stadium aren't going to hear or even notice, especially if they're praying as they're supposed to be doing. Like what harm is he doing? And so even if we take the most generous interpretation and apply the most generous version of this story, it's still like leave the kid alone.
Yeah, it's still quite a stretch. I can't imagine that somebody kicking a football in a football stadium at a football game is going to be distracting of any, anything happening at the scale of a football stadium.
Mm.
I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a stretch. Jonathan, I want to jump back over to you here, building on what we were just saying. So we're kind of seeing the same thing play out on a national and even a worldwide scale. People are getting fired for posting direct quotes from famous and quasi-famous personalities on social media. Virtue signaling is often a sign of insecurity and personal vulnerability, with the signaler kind of seeking the safety of of like-minded people, right? Seeking the approval and the protection of them. So what does this trend, which has been around for a long time, but it's coming out to the forefront kind of recently, what does this whole thing say about the health of our societal psyche? I mean, are we as a society just getting uncomfortable and unconfident, or is is there something deeper happening here, or what do you think about that?
I think that this all started when COVID started, though there were signs of it before that, where people were getting into their insular little groups and their little thought bubbles, where they all had the same kind of thoughts or could agree on almost everything, if not everything. Mm-hmm. They tend to be a lot of gatekeeping in these groups. And that means that if you have one idea that's outside the norm for the group, you're out, and usually you go found your own group, people who, there are things like that have happened all the time in churches, where a church will have an issue. Half of them want to do this, the other half of them want to do that. They'll split the church and go off and found their own church, right? Happens in Unitarian Universalism. I've seen it happen a couple of times, where people who just don't agree anymore with all of what you're doing, then they decide that it's better to split than to argue about it. Well, that's kind of, in a sense, in my mind, cowardly. If you're not willing to engage with your issues, then those issues will just fester. Right. So anyway, all that aside, COVID, online all the time, working online, existing online, finding little groups, little bubbles. The internet became people's lives, and they searched out common ground with people who were in their same mindset, and that's so they could feel at home and feel safe.
So do you think that kind of spilled over into this kind of behavior, this need for being in a group, the need for being in the in-group, the need for signaling that you are proudly in that group? I mean, do you think, is that some kind of social erosion happening where people are uncomfortable about just being around other people? They have to like signal that they're part of the group, or?
Yeah, I think that that's probably true to some extent. I think that people, when they get comfortable in their groups and they feel safe in their groups, then they start going outside their group to point at them and say, we're right, they're wrong.
Right.
And so then they identify more strongly with that, and their own identity gets mixed with that group. So now they're having strong emotions whenever there's somebody around who doesn't agree with them.
Right.
And so that leads to that violent streak that people have. We're primates. We're going to, if we don't like somebody, we're going to fight them, right? It's chimpanzees do it. The only group of higher primates that don't do it are bonobos. They tend to have sex when they disagree with one another. So,
that's the way to do it, right? The
I think we
bonobos, they got
evolved
it all
from
figured
those.
out.
We should have evolved. We should have evolved from those. That would have.
Yeah. That would have been.
Why isn't that our
would have been
closest
very
cousin?
different, I think. Flabbergasted, I want you to add on to what Jonathan was saying. Do you think that this reaction? Now, let's talk specifically about this event here. This kicker practicing and people getting upset about it. Do you think it was because they found his behavior literally offensive and they were speaking out against that, or would you say it's more of a reflection on themselves? Maybe they're a bit unsure, like Jonathan was saying. You know, their social boundaries have weakened a little bit, and they want to kind of shore those up. Do you think it was an outward projection or an inward projection that was happening there?
I mean, I think it was an outward projection, but not in a genuine like we actually are mad at you, like you did something that made us feel in that moment like you did something wrong. Mm-hmm. It's people thinking this is ours, and you should do what we want you to do with it. And by this, I mean we could be referring to the school or the state or the country, even in a time when religiosity is sinking its teeth into the political nature of the country and in the world, because not only in one or two countries, right? It's very much we are putting a claim on this, and you have to adapt. You have to capitulate to us. We are not going to create space for you because we are not seeing you as equal and welcome in this society unless you are part of this group. It is standard in-group, out-group behavior that is creating a division based on, in this particular case, a very strict religious boundary. And it's not new. We've been seeing this all the time. We see it in professional sports.
Clicks.
Yep, we see it. Yeah, but when it comes to religiosity, we've been seeing this for a long time. Right. This isn't new. As a matter of fact, like we're actually slightly better at it in a way. We're seeing a bounce back from it, but we've been getting better at it for a while. So it's more of the same old. I think the thing that was most surprising to me about it wasn't just that people were like, oh, I can't believe that guy was kicking the football instead of praying to gibbers. It was the fact that you have like senators speaking in on it. You have demands for him to actually apologize.
Right.
The guy felt so much pressure. He had to. He originally said, I'm not gonna give it credibility. I'm just gonna let it go away, and it didn't. Usually it does, and it didn't. And that says something. And people just wanted to keep hounding him until he's going to fall. Yep.
Literally a political football. The politicians got involved in saying, I can score points with this, right?
Right. Interesting. Yep. Nice
so
take.
Much so that
let's throw this guy under the bus so that I can get popular with the electorate.
Right. Yep. And so much so that a former football star from the same school actually had to come out and defend him publicly against the senator, which kudos on that guy.
Yeah.
That guy was also a Mormon too. A football player who was a Mormon came out in defense of the kid.
Right. Asked just all they were asking for was just, come on, be reasonable, have a reasonable reaction here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you both of you. That's an excellent place for us to finish up here today. And so if you all want to see more of by the way, we're in our Halloween costumes in case anybody is watching this at a different time. If you want to see some more Halloween hijinks from the nonprofits, click on these links here.
I wear this all the time, actually.